Politics meets tennis. The moment no one predicted. Welcome back to Pro Tennis 360, the place where we don't just report on tennis, but tell the stories that no one else dares to touch. And believe me, what I'm about to share today will make you stop everything you're doing to listen. This isn't your typical sports news. This isn't ordinary political drama. This is a moment that journalism schools will have to teach, diplomats will have to discuss, and highlight clips will have to replay for generations to come. We are talking about a collision between national pride, elite athletic talent, and pure presidential power that just erupted at the 33rd SEA Games in Thailand. And believe me when I say this, you have never witnessed anything like this before. Imagine this scene, a press room packed with people in Bangkok. The lights are hot, cameras are rolling, and sitting at the center of it all is Alex Eala, 20 years old, the pride of the Philippines, with a sparkling gold medal around her neck. She is exhausted, emotional, and beaming with the satisfaction of a dream fulfilled. Standing a few feet away is President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the leader of the Philippines, present to witness history and support his athletes. Everything seemed normal, celebratory even, until a veteran Thai journalist grabbed the microphone and launched what can only be described as a verbal character assassination aimed at this young champion. Tension filled the room. The air was thick. And then, in a moment no one foresaw, the Philippine president stood up, walked across that room, physically snatched the microphone out of the journalist's hand, and unleashed 12 ice-cold words that will echo in sports history forever. Guys, this is the full, uncensored, explosive story of the moment President Marcos officially silenced the critics to protect Alex Eala. And if you haven't subscribed to the Pro Tennis 360 channel yet, hit that subscribe button right now. Because stories like these, the stories that mainstream media is too afraid to cover, are exactly what we do every day. Now, let's rewind and set the stage properly. Alex Eala and the weight of history, 2 to 4 o'clock. The 26-year burden and the 20-year-old girl who had to overcome it. Before we get to the explosion, you need to understand the young woman at the heart of all this. Alex Eala isn't just some random tennis player who got lucky. She is currently ranked 53rd in the world. Let that sink in, world number 53. She has competed on the WTA Tour. She trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain. And she has carried the hopes and dreams of 110 million Filipinos since she was a teenager. This isn't just mere athletic pressure. This is the pressure of an entire generation. But here is what makes things much more complicated. The Philippines had not won a gold medal in women's singles tennis at the SEA Games since 1999. That was a 26-year wait, 26 years of disappointment. 26 years of near misses and heartbreak. 26 years is a whole generation. Athletes who weren't even born when the Philippines last won are now competing for it. This drought had become a national obsession, and Alex Eala was the only one who could end it. But here's the problem when you're the number one favorite, especially when you're doing it on hostile territory. The target on your back becomes massive. The Philippine delegation knew what they were walking into. They knew every match would be an uphill battle, not just against skilled opponents, but against crowds who wanted nothing more than to see their golden girl fall. They knew the pressure would be immense. And they knew Alex Eala was carrying the weight of history. This wasn't just a tennis match. This was a mission of national redemption. And sitting in the VIP section, watching all of this with growing interest, was President Bongbong Marcos himself. He had made the trip to Thailand specifically to support Filipino athletes, a gesture many in the media described as routine, a standard diplomatic appearance. But those who know Marcos understand that he doesn't do anything without a purpose. He was there because he understood the significance of this moment. He was there because he wanted to send a message that the Philippines stands behind its champions. And as events would soon prove, he was there to do something that no Philippine president had ever done before. Now, let me take you into the hellish atmosphere that Alex Eala had to face. See Games context, the powder keg. Home court advantage turns into psychological warfare. The 33rd SEA Games were by no means a friendly competition. Sure, on paper, these regional games are supposed to celebrate unity, sportsmanship, and athletic excellence across Southeast Asia. But anyone watching knows that when national pride is at stake, when the host nation has home court advantage, and when the pressure to perform reaches its peak, things can turn ugly very fast. And in the world of tennis at these games, everything was building toward an inevitable confrontation. Thailand entered these games with massive expectations. The host nation always does. They had the crowd, they had the facilities, and they had athletes hungry to prove themselves on their own soil. The National Tennis Development Center in Bangkok became their fortress, a venue where every point played by a Thai athlete was met with deafening cheers and every opponent's error was celebrated like a personal victory. The atmosphere was electric, but also hostile, intimidating, and at times nearly unfair. This wasn't just home court advantage. This was a psychological war zone. And standing in the middle of all this chaos was Alex Eala. As the tournament progressed, Eala was absolutely clinical. She didn't just win matches, she dominated them. In the quarterfinals, she destroyed her opponent with surgical precision, barely breaking a sweat. The semifinals were the same. Her forehand was a weapon of mass destruction. Her movement around the court was poetry in motion. Her mental strength was unshakable. With every victory, excitement in the Philippines grew. But so did the tension in Thailand. The home crowd was starting to realize that their dream of a Thai gold medal was slipping away, taken by this seemingly unstoppable Filipino phenomenon. By the time we reached the finals, the atmosphere had reached a boiling point. Alex Eala was set to face Maninkaya Sawanki, Thailand's last hope, their local hero, the player carrying the weight of an entire nation screaming her name. The stadium was packed beyond capacity. Every seat was full. People were standing in the aisles. The noise was absolutely deafening. Thai drums beat out rhythms that shook the foundations of the building. Chants echoed through the dome. And every time Alex Eala stepped up to serve, every time she prepared to hit the ball, the crowd would erupt in boos, trying to break her focus, trying to throw her off her game. This wasn't sportsmanship. This was psychological warfare. And if you think that was intense, wait until you hear what happened after she won. Gladiatorial war on the clay court. The gold medal match itself was an absolute war. This wasn't a tennis match. This was gladiatorial combat disguised as sport. Maninkaya Sawanki played the match of her life. Fueled by the frenzied energy of thousands of screaming fans, she was getting back balls that should have been winners. She was hitting lines with unbelievable precision. She was feeding off every cheer, every chant, every desperate plea from her supporters. But Alex Eala was something else entirely. She was ice cold, facing overwhelming hostility, suspicious line calls that always seemed to favor the home player, and constant attempts to intimidate her. Eala never cracked. Not once. There were moments that tested her resolve. In the second set, a series of absolutely terrible calls by the line judges sparked a major argument on court. The Philippine coaching staff was incensed, pointing at marks in the clay, demanding reviews that were mysteriously not granted. The crowd was pounding for blood, sensing that their player might actually pull off a miracle if the officials kept helping out. But this is what separates champions from everyone else. Instead of letting the controversy consume her, instead of collapsing under the pressure, Alex Eala channeled every bit of frustration into her racket. She began hitting winners so clean, so undeniable, that even the most biased line judges couldn't call them out. She began systematically dismantling her opponent, point by point, game by game, until there was no doubt left in anyone's mind about who was the better player. When she finally hit the championship forehand down the line, a bullet of a shot that painted the corner and sealed the match at 6-1, 6-2, the release of emotion was visceral. Alex Eala fell to her knees on the court, her racket dropping from her hands, tears streaming down her face. She had done it. Against all odds. Against a hostile crowd. Against questionable officiating. Against the pressure of 26 years of history. She had conquered. The gold medal was hers. The drought was over. The Philippines had its champion. But as anyone who follows sports knows, sometimes the drama starts when the game ends. The handshake at the net was cold and perfunctory. The awards ceremony was awkward and tense. Thai officials looked visibly pained as they handed over the gold medal to the Filipino star, as if it physically hurt them to acknowledge her victory. The crowd, so loud during the match, was now eerily quiet, their disappointment hanging in the air like smoke. But the real storm, the real controversy, was only just beginning to brew in the press room where the world's media was gathering. And that is where everything exploded. The press room turns into a battlefield. Press conferences at major sporting events are usually straightforward affairs. Athletes sit at the table, answer questions about their performance, thank their coaches and supporters, and everyone goes home happy. But this press conference was different from the moment it began. You could feel the tension in the room. Thai journalists were nursing their wounded pride. International media smelled blood in the water. And Alex Eala, still wearing her gold medal, still glowing with the satisfaction of victory, had no idea what was about to hit her. Let me introduce you to Yoon. And if you don't know who this man is, let me paint you a picture. Yoon is a titan of Thai journalism. He has been in the business for decades. He is known throughout Southeast Asia for his aggressive interviewing style, his refusal to back down from anyone, and his reputation for asking the questions that others are too afraid to ask. He has interviewed prime ministers. He has grilled corporate CEOs. And he has made politicians squirm in their seats with his pointed questions. He is not a man easily intimidated. And he is certainly not someone who plays nice when he senses weakness. He is the type of journalist who sees an emotional young athlete as an easy target. As Alex Eala settled into her chair at the podium, flanked by her coaches and officials, she looked tired but happy. She was ready to talk about her strategy, her training, the support from back home, all the usual stuff. But the moment Yoon stood up and grabbed the microphone, the energy in the room shifted. This wasn't going to be a normal press conference. This was going to be an ambush. According to several witnesses present in that room, what happened next was shocking even by the standards of combat sports journalism. Yoon didn't start with a question. He started with an attack. He began by undermining the victory, talking about how favorable the draw was, how certain players were injured, how luck had played a major role in the outcome. Then, he began dropping hints about the officiating, strangely suggesting that it might actually have favored Eala despite the clear evidence that she had fought against biased calls throughout the tournament. It was gaslighting of the highest order, an attempt to rewrite the narrative of what everyone had just witnessed. But then he went further. He went personal. And that was where President Marcos had seen enough. When the journalist crosses the ethical line, Yoon began attacking Alex Eala's character. He questioned her sportsmanship. He criticized her celebrations as being disrespectful to the host nation. He implied that her success was somehow illegitimate, that she hadn't truly earned the gold medal around her neck. And he did all this not as questions, but as accusations, his voice dripping with condescension and barely concealed contempt. This wasn't journalism. This was a character assassination being broadcast live to millions of viewers across Southeast Asia. The room went silent. Other journalists, even some from Thailand, looked uncomfortable. This had crossed a line that professional reporters understand exists even in the most competitive press conferences. You can ask tough questions. You can challenge the narrative. But you do not verbally assault a 20-year-old athlete who just achieved the biggest victory of her life. Alex Eala's face, which had been so joyful just minutes before, began to fall. The smile disappeared. Her eyes began to glisten with fresh tears. But these were no longer tears of joy. These were tears of pain and confusion. She looked to her coaches for help, but they seemed as stunned as she was. How do you defend yourself against such aggressive hostility disguised as a media inquiry? Yoon was relentless. He kept going, his finger now pointing at her, his voice rising, clearly working himself into a righteous fury for the benefit of the cameras. He was performing, putting on a show for his home audience, giving them the confrontation they wanted because they couldn't have the victory they desired. He was going to make this Filipino girl pay for having the audacity to win on Thai soil. He was going to break her on live television and restore some sense of Thai pride through her humiliation. But he had made one critical miscalculation. He forgot who else was in that room. President Bongbong Marcos had been sitting quietly at the side of the podium, maintaining the dignified posture expected of a head of state at an international sporting event. He had smiled at the appropriate moments, nodded along with other questions, playing the role of the supportive observer. But as Sudakai's monologue continued, as the attacks on Alex Eala became more personal and vicious, something changed in the president's demeanor. The smile vanished. His jaw set. His eyes, which had been scanning the room casually, locked onto the Thai journalist with laser focus. Multiple witnesses described the moment as feeling like the temperature in the room suddenly dropped 10 degrees. And what happened next would be taught in political science classes and analyzed by diplomatic experts for years to come. The president walks. The president takes. The president speaks. President Bongbong Marcos stood up. Not quickly, not frantically, but with deliberate, purposeful movement. The scrape of his chair against the floor cut through Sudakai Yoon's monologue like a knife. Every eye in the room immediately shifted to the president. Security personnel tensed, unsure of what was happening. Other officials froze in place. And Sudakai Yoon, for just a split second, faltered in his verbal assault as he registered that the Philippine president was walking straight toward him. But Yoon's arrogance, decades of intimidating people with his questions, his sense of untouchability as a member of the press kept him going. Even as President Marcos closed the distance between them, even as the entire room held its collective breath, Yoon kept talking, kept attacking, clearly believing his status as a journalist would protect him from any consequences. That was his fatal error. President Marcos reached Sudakai Yoon and without hesitation, without asking permission, without any diplomatic niceties, physically snatched the microphone out of the journalist's hand. Not gently, not as a polite request. He ripped it away with authority, with force, with unmistakable intent. The sound of the microphone being forcefully removed boomed through the press room speakers like a gunshot. Sudakai Yoon was left standing there, mouth still open mid-sentence, arms still extended to where the microphone had been, suddenly and completely silenced in the most literal way possible. The room exploded in gasps. Camera shutters went crazy. Security guards took half steps forward before realizing this wasn't a threat, but their president making a statement. Other officials seemed paralyzed, unsure of how to react to such an unprecedented breach of protocol. And Sudakai Yoon, the man who had spent decades making others uncomfortable with his questions, was now the one experiencing profound discomfort. President Marcos held the microphone, not like a politician about to give a speech, but like a parent holding evidence of wrongdoing, like a protector wielding a shield. He didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't need to give a long-winded defense. He just needed to set a boundary, to draw a line saying, "Enough is enough." And then he spoke. 12 words. Just 12 simple, devastating, perfectly chosen words that cut through all the noise and chaos and controversy with surgical precision. Looking first directly into Sudakai Yoon's eyes, holding his gaze with an intensity that made the journalist look away in discomfort, and then swinging that same fierce gaze across the entire room, ensuring everyone present understood the message. President Bongbong Marcos declared in a calm but utterly unshakable voice, "I will not allow anyone to attack her in such an unfair manner." That was it. 12 words that immediately became the most talked about quote in Southeast Asian sports and politics. Boom. Absolute. Perfect. How 12 words became a global phenomenon. The power of those 12 words wasn't just in what they said, but in how they were delivered. There was no anger in President Marcos's voice, but there was absolute authority. There was no plea, but there was an unmistakable command. It was the voice of a leader who had just decided that protocol and diplomacy could take a back seat to basic human decency. It was the voice of a nation saying, "We will not be disrespected. We will not allow our heroes to be torn down. And if you cross this line, there will be consequences." After delivering that devastating statement, President Marcos did not hand the microphone back to Yoon. That would have suggested the journalist might have another chance to attack. Instead, he placed it firmly on the table, turning it into a symbolic gesture saying, "This conversation is over." He then turned his back on the Thai journalist, a diplomatic slight that could not be missed, and walked over to where Alex Eala was sitting. He placed a protective hand on her shoulder, a gesture that was simultaneously paternal and presidential, and leaned down to whisper something to her that brought a smile back to her face. Yoon was left standing there red-faced and humiliated, experiencing what few journalists ever face, being publicly dressed down by a foreign head of state on his own home turf. He tried to say something, tried to protest away from the microphone, but his voice was lost in what happened next. Someone in the room started clapping. Then another person joined in, then another. Within seconds, a wave of applause was building in that press room. It started with the Philippine media, naturally, but it spread. International journalists joined in. Even some Thai reporters, perhaps recognizing that their colleague had gone too far, began to clap. They weren't applauding politics. They weren't applauding nationalism. They were applauding principle. They were celebrating the fact that someone in power had used that power to protect a young athlete from an unfair attack. Within hours of this incident, the video clip of Marcos taking that microphone and delivering those 12 cold-blooded words had gone completely viral. We're talking millions of views across every social media platform. The hashtag #MarcosProtectsEala was trending worldwide. Filipino communities across the globe were celebrating. Even people who had never watched a tennis match in their lives. Even people who couldn't care less about Southeast Asian politics were sharing this clip. Because it represented something that people are desperately starving for in modern leadership. Decisive action. President Marcos had changed his image both domestically and internationally. He was no longer just a political figure with a complex family legacy. He was now a leader who had stood up, acted, and protected his people when it mattered. A moment that redefines leadership and journalism. Let's take a moment to really analyze what just happened here, because this is much bigger than just a press conference moment. We live in an age where politicians are incredibly calculated. Every word is focus grouped. Every action is analyzed by teams of advisors. Leaders hide behind carefully crafted statements released through press secretaries. They avoid confrontation, especially on foreign soil, because the diplomatic repercussions can be severe. For a sitting president to physically intervene in a press conference, to actually take the microphone out of the hand of a journalist in another country, is almost unheard of in modern politics. From a diplomatic standpoint, this should be a nightmare. This should cause an international incident. This should lead to formal apologies and intense phone calls between foreign ministries. But here is what traditional diplomats don't understand. Here is what political analysts sitting in air-conditioned offices are missing. In the court of public opinion, what President Marcos just did is being hailed as absolutely heroic. The questions moving forward are fascinating to consider. How will this affect future press conferences at international sporting events? Will journalists think twice before launching aggressive attacks on athletes, knowing that there might be consequences that go beyond a social media backlash? Will other leaders feel empowered to take similar actions when their athletes are treated unfairly? Has President Marcos set a new precedent for how heads of state should engage with media that crosses ethical lines? What we do know is that this moment has captured the imagination of people all over the world. It has sparked countless conversations about leadership, about sportsmanship, about the role of the media, about protecting young people in the spotlight, about national pride, and about standing up to bullies. These are conversations that last far beyond the specific context of a press conference at a sporting event. This has become a cultural moment with implications that will ripple forward for years. For Yoon personally, this will likely be the career-defining moment, though not in the way he hoped. Instead of being remembered as the fearless journalist who asked the tough questions, he will be remembered as the man who attacked a 20-year-old champion and was publicly humiliated by a president for it. His name will forever be linked to this incident. Every time someone writes his biography or creates a profile of his career, this moment will be front and center. It is a cautionary tale about the difference between aggressive journalism and simple cruelty. For Alex Eala, she witnessed something that few athletes ever do. She witnessed her president standing up for her in the most direct, most public way possible. She knows that her country truly has her back. And that lesson, that validation, that protection will stay with her for the rest of her career. A lesson in leadership the world needs to hear. Plus, subscribe to Pro Tennis 360. As we conclude this incredible story, let's go back to Alex Eala, because at the heart of all this controversy and all this drama is a 20-year-old athlete who achieved something absolutely remarkable. She ended a 26-year drought. She won gold on hostile territory. She maintained her composure under immense pressure. She represented her country with dignity and excellence. And in the aftermath of her greatest victory, she was unfairly attacked by someone who should have known better. But she also experienced something few athletes ever do. She witnessed her president standing up for her in the most direct, most public way possible. She knows that her country truly has her back. And that lesson, that validation, that protection will stay with her for the rest of her career. The image of Alex Eala smiling again after President Marcos whispered to her, after he placed that protective hand on her shoulder, after he silenced her attacker, is the perfect ending to this story. It shows that despite all the controversy and all the drama, what mattered most was that a young champion felt supported and protected, that she could experience her moment of glory without being completely shadowed by cruelty, that she could hold her head high knowing that when someone tried to tear her down, her president was there to build her back up. This is the story of the 33rd SEA Games that no one will forget. Not the results of the other events, not the medal counts, not the opening ceremony. This moment, this confrontation, this statement of protection and pride. This is what will be remembered. This is what will be shown in documentaries. This is what will be taught in schools. This is what will inspire future generations of athletes and leaders. Because at its core, this story is about something fundamental to the human experience. The desire to protect those who cannot fully protect themselves. The willingness to stand up to a bully regardless of the consequences. And the power of saying enough is enough. So, what do you think, champions? Was President Marcos absolutely right to take that microphone and shut down Sudakai's attack? Did that Thai journalist get exactly what he deserved for trying to bully a young champion? Or do you think the president crossed a line and should have handled it differently? This is a conversation that will rage on for weeks and months, and I want to hear your perspective. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me where you stand on this. Do you think more leaders should follow President Marcos's example? Or do you think he should have been more diplomatic? I'm reading every single comment, and I want to know what you think about this absolutely explosive moment. And if you want more stories like this, stories that you won't find anywhere else, stories that go deeper than the headlines, stories that give you real context and the truth, then subscribe to Pro Tennis 360 right now. We are bringing you what the mainstream media is afraid to touch. We are giving you the analysis, the background, and the stories you deserve. And we are doing it every single day. Hit that subscribe button. Tap the notification bell. Join the community of champions who truly understand that tennis is about more than just scores. It's about the stories, the drama, and the moments that change history. This is Pro Tennis 360. I'm signing off for now, but I'll be back soon with more updates on this developing story. More coverage of the SEA Games, and more of the tennis content you love. Stay strong. Stay proud. Keep supporting Filipino athletes. And remember those 12 powerful words that President Bongbong Marcos taught us all. Don't let anyone attack you or your people in such an unfair manner. Stand up. Speak out. Take the microphone if you have to. Because that's what champions do. See you in the next one.